And welcome back. Today, as you can see, I've been having lots of fun. My first official day of holidays, and it's time to chillax. All the housework was done over the weekend, so today has been all about me. So this month in the Two Sisters art box, we received a whole lot of writing equipment. There was a calligraphy book, some script pens, elegant metallic pens, and there was also a dual tip marker from Bria Reese. Now I've also put a darker pen in that I had the nice light pen, so I'm going to work with these, as well as we got our dipping pen or fountain pen. So I'm just going to do a couple of little activities, just creating some lettering. Now the other thing that I had is that I found that the watercolour paper that I generally play with was a little bit rough, so to get a nice crisp line using my markers just wasn't working. So you don't always have to use the most expensive paper when playing in your art journals. So this is one that I picked up from the Riot art store here in Queensland. They're in Australia. I'm not quite sure if they're overseas as well, but this is one of their pads, quite economical. The paper actually feels quite good, reasonable quality. It's a little bit heavier than a printing paper. Didn't actually have how heavy the actual sheets were, but was recommended for pens and pencils, and it is acid free, so I thought I'd actually try this pad because it is nice smooth paper. Now before I get started in today, I'm going to rule up a couple of pages so we can create some different lettering. Let's have some fun. So I've just got some simple lines drawn up on this first page. Now I'm going to try and keep this one just very simple. I'm just going to be using the manuscript pen, and I'm just going to use one of the Bria Reese pens as well. This is a bit of highlighting. So as I said, I'm just going to keep this one very simple and just practice a few different styles as we go along. Now, as a useful resource for you, and I'll put the link below, someone who I follow and have learnt so much through is Joanne Sharp. She's got multiple books out on lettering. One today that I'm just going to use as a reference point while I'm creating this is Artful Alphabets, which is one of my favourite books. I think it was probably one of my first, but I've always turned back to that, but she's got a lot of great books out there. She's also got some online courses available, so check out her details below, and we'll get started. So just going to use the black manuscript pen to start with. As I said, I'm going to keep this one very simple. We're just using big straight lines. I'm going to be doing uppercase to start with. I remember many years back at school, we used to get the little pads with all the drilled lines that you'd have to practice your letters each day. Give myself enough space. So I'm just trying to keep the chisel of this just very flat. And as you can see, this is actually better than what it was on the other paper that we had used, or I had used in the previous projects. Sometimes I hesitate, I'm not quite sure whether I want to do right up to the top line, but I've just kept going with that. As I said, it's a bit wonky. Okay, sorry if I went out of focus there. Okay, so with that, I am now going to just do a little bit of highlighting just with my green pen. So like the brush tips, just allowing you to create a bit of depth there. Come down just a little bit there. There. Sorry, not a huge amount of talking just at the moment. It's quite nice just to be off my own world there for a moment. So in Australia at the present stage, it's been a little bit warm. Some places yesterday it got up to 46 degrees in some areas. Not quite as hot where I am, thank goodness, but it even saying that it was still in the high 30s and the humidity has been horrendous. It's been nice trying to hide in my little room away from the heat. There's my poor older dog. She's 13, soon to be 14. She's a little Maltese Terrier. And since we've moved back to Brisbane, she seems to have developed a second lease of life. But today she wasn't overly impressed because it was so hot and her hair was getting so long. I gave her a bit of a haircut and a bath tub. I'm not quite sure if she's actually speaking to me yet. She has been sulking, but she does appear to be far more cooler. Doesn't help that she's a black dog with a very thick coat in this terrible weather. think I've used that green pen. It'd be nice, I think, to use maybe a greyish colour. But I'm okay with that. So it's just given us that little bit of shadow there. A little bit of bleeding through, but that's okay. And we'll just use the one side. So that is the letters in the capitals there. Now I shall try using this on the edge for the little ones, lowercase. So I'm just using the side of the edge. Might make a fancy G. I think some of us, when we're writing, particularly in our art journals, we get a bit put off by our own handwriting at times. I used to quite a lot. Not really like my own writing, but the more I wrote, I guess the more comfortable I actually felt. So that's just one simple style. Okay, I'm going to rule off a couple more pages and come back and do a couple more. Okay, so I've just got a couple more pages done. I'm going to use one of the brush markers from my pack. I think the green will just be a little bit too light for everyone to see. So the great thing with these is, yes, they're a dual brush. So it'll allow us to give a couple of different ways in which we can actually write with this. I do love the brush, absolutely fantastic, similar to Tombow and other water activated brushes as well. So for some great techniques on actually using the brushes to do lettering, I follow a few people on Skillshare. It's a great place to actually have a look at any topic that you could ever imagine possible. I know I've had a look at a few, I just can't remember off the top of my head, but with the brush I think we can do a lot more similar to what you're going to have with the fountain pens. I'm holding the brush so it's just getting the edge of it and using a bit of pressure as well. You can get very creative with the strokes on this. As I said, I am no expert on this. I do like lettering, but it's something that I haven't done a lot of. you can get a lot of different strokes out of the brush pen. Just by a little pressure. So these activities just to practice and play and see how I best can use these pens before I start playing in my art journal. So that's why I wasn't too worried. There is a little bit of bleeding through on this page, and that's more just for practice. I look forward to seeing what people do with this month's art box. If you do get and subscribe to the Two Sisters Art Sampler, you've got access then to a closed Facebook group that Tanya can link you up to. I'll have the details below. You're free to post in there and share your creations, views and ideas freely in a very supportive, nurturing group. Not quite sure what happened with that X. A bit of back to front. Okay. Some simple things. So we do have several different nibs with our dipping pen. I might try one of the larger ones. So this is the 2. It's the second largest. Just thought that this might give us broader aspect without it being too large. Now I am dabbing a little bit off because I'm only creating one letter at a time. I found when I first started using this that if I had too much on the actual nib, let's see there, you end up with, see if I can create it, you end up with a large drop. So this isn't doing it, which is good. So with the fountain pens, you do need, you can see there I've got a big blob there, that you will need to lift your pen up when you're creating the strokes. So C can be created with 2 strokes. Follow the guide that's in our book. Oh, see, I'm not the best. calligraphy is such an art. I am always impressed by those that can actually do it so well. So if you've got a given talent in calligraphy, please don't be afraid to share it with us all. I'm being very naughty. I haven't actually followed the book here at the moment. I'm just playing, not controlling the ink very well for this at all. Now, you will notice that your nib, you can actually press firmer and lighter to create different widths. There's a little split in between the metal bits that allow you to spread and open the legs just a bit. I think as I go along, I'm feeling getting the pressure, so it is all about practice. Okay, now to write the lowercase, I'm going to get a finer nib. Just make sure you get rid of any excess ink. I have already complained about it once, but it is hot here today. Even the art of writing today, I feel like I'm a sweaty mess. I think if you have a fountain pen that has actually got the ink inside it, you may be able to control the ink a little bit better. I am finding with these dipping pens that controlling the ink sometimes is a little bit harder, but I envisage that with practice I will be able to work out it a little bit better. This has made me feel like I'm doing out lines because I've been a very naughty child today. Okie dokie. Yeah, it's one thing I'll probably practice without showing on video. Going through just a few of those activities in that book. And when I've perfected it a little bit more, I'll come back online and actually show you. So I just want to see you experiment just with a few different styles of writing. There's a couple of different activities that I'd like to use in my art journal page that involve lettering. Just create something a little bit fun, I think. So you can see there with my ink, that one's actually come through. Well, it was a cheaper book. I actually feel that it's quite nice to work with. Just have to be careful and cautious of what mediums I actually use. So just need to allow that one to dry. Okay, so that's just a couple of examples on the different products that we had in our art sampler. Looking to see what you create with yours. Thank you.